Bonjour everyone and welcome to my channel The Waves of Your Soul. My name is Marine, I'm a French tarot reader, and if this is your first time on my channel I want to say a huge welcome, and if you are someone who's returning, thank you so much for tuning with me today again. I am super excited to be doing this video today, something light, fun, a kind of video I love to watch from all my fellow tarot lovers in the community. And today I wanted to do a part 2 of a video I posted a couple of months ago, which was entitled Some of My Most Beautiful Decks. Now, why do I want to do a part 2? Is because since I recorded this video, I received a lot of tarot decks that I ordered in 2020 that came months after I ordered them. One, because of the pandemic, of course, slowing everything down, and two, because as some of you know, I live on a little island in the middle of the Indian Ocean off the coast of Madagascar, so things take generally a long time, pandemic or not, and when you add that factor in, you better be waiting for your tarot decks for a good 9 months to a year. So a little disclaimer, some of the decks you're gonna find here are out of print. I found them either I was very lucky to find them just before they got out of print, or I purchased them on second hand. And most of the decks I'm gonna show you today are indie decks. I have one mass market deck. However, that does not mean that I believe only indie decks are beautiful. I want to make that very clear. If you've watched my first video, you will see more mass market choices. This is just how the cookie crumbled this time, that indie decks took longer to get to me, so today they are more what I'm showing to you. But I have a lot of mass market decks in my collection. I find a lot of mass market decks beautiful. Like I said, you will see some in my previous video, so I just wanted to really make that disclaimer because I don't want people to feel like they have to spend a lot of money on a deck for it to be beautiful. So I hope you'll still enjoy to see my version of what I consider a deck beautiful. And yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first deck I wanted to show today is actually an indie deck that is still in print, so you can still get your hands on it. It is called Tarot Fauna. It is a nature-based deck. The creators are Devin Strickler and Brittany Bucket. I found this deck directly on the Tarot Fauna website, and I believe they might be on Etsy. I'll put the link below anyway. This is a nature-based deck that the minute I saw I fell in love with, and actually this is the only deck I believe, the only deck that I bought in 2021 and that I received in 2021, so that in itself is a miracle because like I said, things take forever to come to me, and that's okay. You know, I'm learning patience as an Aries. It's very important. It's part of my growth, I believe. These are the backs, and this is, like I said, an animal based deck, but the artwork is beautiful, and the minute I saw it, my inner child really resonated with this. It reminded me of stories from when I was little, and I just knew I had to get this deck. So as you can see, the artwork is very much watercolor style. It's very beautiful. The mages represents all kind of different animals, and then the suits are divided into elements, I believe. So feathers are our swords. We have rocks for the pentacles. We have torches for the wands, and we have shells for the cups. And then each actual suit is divided per certain animal. So the major arcana card are main kind of animals, each card representing a different animal, and then the suits are like there's a storyline with a specific animals throughout the suit. So rocks are bears, and then the feathers are owls, the torches or wands are foxes, and the shells are otters. And literally when I tell you that when I saw this deck my inner child squealed, is because they are pretty much all of my favorite animals from at least the northern hemisphere, even though I'm currently living on a tropical island right now. When I was little, I grew up in mainland France, and then I moved to America and England, so I've encountered all those animals, and they're very dear to my heart. Especially, I don't know, there's the way that those specific animals are depicted, there is something so soothing about them, so beautiful, and I just fell in love completely with this deck. I think for me really here it's the artwork that is so evocative. I believe this deck still is quite close to the Smith-Waite kind of representation, the fact that even in the Six of Feathers we see this idea of leaving our worries behind, moving towards more calmer, beautiful times, but you still shed, you're not going to be this, you're still shedding feathers, so you're not going to be the same person. Even when you get to calmer waters, you've still gone through a lot and you're going to need time to lick your wounds, kind of thing. I believe that it's still very much representative. The Hermit is beautiful, so despite the fact that it's only animals, it's still very easy to read the tarot with this Nine of Feathers. You get the angst, you get the anguish. There's very much beautiful use of dark and light here. Even the eyes of the actual owl is just stunning, and I just completely fell in love with this deck. I particularly enjoy the feather suit because recently I've just been playing this game on Nintendo Switch which is called Ori and the Wisp. I don't know if you guys know it, if you're into video games, but it's depicting, it's kind of like set in this beautiful forest, and one of the main characters is an owl, and it's just totally transport you to somewhere gorgeous and beautiful. And if you like video games, I really recommend it. But yeah, as you can see, even the otters are so cute. Even the tower, the fact that it's still in nature, you still get this sudden abrupt change. But what I love about this particular tower is I believe this also why this deck is a good reader for everyone, even people who are a bit scared of tarot, is because in the tower card, I don't know if you'll see, but after the forest has been burned down, there is sprouting here, there is growth, there is new leaves. So it's kind of showing the necessity for dissolution and for fire to create rebirth even in nature, and I find that beautiful. Look at this Hierophant, I love it. The Hierophant is my birth card and I always look out for it, and I love when they are a bit different to the traditional Pope looking. So this Hierophant I fell in love with straight away. So definitely I would recommend this deck to everyone, especially if you're in need of a little bit of love and care and soothing vibes. Okay, moving on to another nature-based deck. This one's slightly different. We have the Majestic Tarot Storm and Wonder by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle. Now, this deck is currently out of print and you can only find it on eBay and things like that. I got very lucky when I found it. This is a box, I'll show it to you while I'm talking. So this deck, like I said, is currently out of print. It is the same creator that did the Delphi Tarot that now goes at crazy prices. I believe this deck, you could probably find it on eBay because it only came out last year. I believe it was a Kickstarter. I actually got very lucky getting this deck because I had subscribed to the newsletter for this specific artist. I missed the deck when it came out on Kickstarter and everything. I was just out of the loop, and by the time I found out that this deck existed, it was too late, like it was just gone. And then by subscribing to the newsletter of the artist, she had some factory problem decks, I don't know how you call those, but decks that are supposedly have an issue. And she released a few and I literally snapped it out because with the time difference of me being here and her posting it, I think I saw it like literally as soon as I woke up. So I got very lucky. I could pick the factory problem decks and literally I can't tell you what the problem is. So supposedly there's problem on the gilding. I can't see any problem really. I don't know what the problem on this deck is. I genuinely can't see it. And we got a discount on it, because supposedly there is an issue. But honestly, I mean, I would have been happy paying for this deck full price. So I'm not sure. If this is what a factory default deck is, I would love to know what a perfect deck is, because in my opinion this is already great quality. The particularity of this deck is that it uses nature-based paintings to represent all the tarot cards. So there is no human people on this deck, or only tiny people in the midst of landscape, because it's supposed to be landscapes right? The Majestic Earth Tarot. I call it Landscape of the Soul. This deck is potentially one of the, if not the most beautiful deck in my collection. It's definitely in the top 3. Those are the backs. I showed you the gilding already. I love those backs. The cardstock is matte. It's beautiful. The artwork is original, repurposed original paintings from the Hudson River School, Luminism, European Romanticism, Russian Realism, and the American West. So those were all paintings that already existed, that the artist reworked a little bit, maybe with colors, and just looked out to adapt to the specific tarot meanings, and I think it works amazing. So this deck, as you can see, there are keywords. So for example, for the Fool, we have unrestrained possibilities, spontaneity, spirited. You also have an alchemical symbol, as well as an element, or an astrological symbol, or an element. Sometimes there are alchemical symbols. And as you can see, the Fool is beautiful, but there is this one little person right here about to jump, and you still definitely get the Fool vibe. And this deck, it just transports me. It really does. It takes me to places. It's a very beautiful deck. I use it for path walking. I use it for, I'm going to show you a couple of the majors and then I'll show you a couple of the minors. I use it for meditation. I use it for path walking. I have used it before re-putting it in order for readings that I like to call landscape of my soul. So I like to think, okay, what's going on in my inner landscape? How can I walk through different, landscape of my life? And it works just so beautifully. The one thing I don't like about this deck is that they have renamed some of the major arcana cards to the point where it's confusing. We have the Chariot, we have Strength, that's cute, that's great. But then we have stuff like, and the Hermit card is literally one of the reasons why I bought this deck. I love this specific painting. It's gorgeous. So like I said, so Justice is a council of law, and you're like, okay, I can get that, there's law in there, and of course one of the keywords is justice, so at this point you're not lost, it's cool. And then Upturned is the Hangman, but when I first saw this card, I was convinced it was the Tower, because we see something crumbling down, we see people having to escape from it, we see the elements being really, challenging and stuff, and I was like, surely this is gonna be the Tower, but it's not. It's the Hangman. This is Death, so that's cute. And then Tempest is actually the Devil. Now I don't really see the Devil in that personally, so that's another one I had some issues with, especially because for me the keyword Tempest is more relating to the Tower. If I think about the Devil, I don't link it to the Tempest, that's just personal. And then the Tower is called the Tower, and there is a specific tower in there, so that's okay. But there's just a couple of cards that like trip me, but I guess I just need to get used to the actual deck. So those are the major arcana cards, and then like I said, it's element based. So in terms of the pentacles, we have stone, and I'll show you a couple of cards. So Ace of Stone, Four of Stone, Seven of Stone. Literally, apart from the major arcana, I believe every minor arcana card depicts the actual tarot archetypes beautifully. With the Eight of Stone here, you still get the image of people working on their craft, the idea of like hard labor that you will then reap the fruit of, and I really get that from the painting. Nine of Stone, we still get a womanly figure in a beautiful garden. The scene is serene, she's nurturing her her environment, and she's feeling comfortable. I get that. Then we have clouds for the sword, so the air suit. So Two of Sword, you get those beautiful two birds, and the idea of like, which way do I go, the idea of like equilibrium and all of that. So I totally can see that. Four of Clouds, I thought was very clever. Four of Sword, the rest, respite, but here it's depicting a grave, but it's still the idea of like regeneration, healing, etc. Maybe waiting for reincarnation in this case, or you read it how you want, but it's still very much Four of Swords to me. After the clouds, we have the trees for the fire, for wands. So trees are actually fire, and Here we have the Three of Wands, the idea of, as you can see, someone wanting to go on an adventure, and there's this figure here overlooking, very much resonating the RWS. And then finally we have water for the cups, and of course, you know, that also makes sense. So Three of Water, Three of Cups, there's this idea of there's like figures here enjoying themselves. And it's just so beautiful. This deck is just gorgeous. I love the artworks that she chose. I love the colors. I love the ways that they are coming up on paper, and you can do so much with this deck, not just, you know, tarot readings, but like I said, path walking, meditation, just put the card on your altar, like whatever you want to do. She actually also includes four so there is a card, by the way, that mentions all the artists that she uses, which I appreciate, and she actually gives you 4 or 5 element cards. So there's a spirit card, and honestly those are like, I could stare at them all day. I find them so fascinating. This is a water card, which I love because of course my channel is called The Waves of Your Soul, so hello, I love the ocean. We have the fire one, the air one, oh so beautiful, and the earth one. Okay, moving on to another indie deck that is still currently in print. I believe you can get this one quite easily. It is the Shimmering Veil Tarot by Sheila Conway. Now this deck I ordered again in 2020. It took a really long time to get to me, but the minute I held it in my hand, it was like, okay, it was worth the wait. This is actually, I got straight from the creator's website. It comes with a little guidebook that is full of really good information. You get like about a page per message. You get an explanation of why she picked the definition under this particular depiction of the artwork and actual meanings. So what I love about this actual guidebook is that she explains to you why she represents a certain archetype this way, because this deck does not really follow your traditional imagery. It's very intuitive. So these are the backs. I got the first edition. I was like in that very first bracket of people who got the deck when it was not edged, so I actually edged mine in silver, but she does now, in that edition she's producing, you'll get holographic edges. I've seen people with that, which is cute, but I like my edgings, you know, they're nice. So this deck is very, very intuitive. For me, this particular deck, it was channeled. Sheila, I don't know how she literally channeled this particular artwork, but it's like it really feels like it was channeled. I can't describe it any other way. It's like she peeked through the veil, and this is why it carries its name so beautifully, being the Shimmering Veil Tarot. It's like she peeked through the veil and literally downloaded like cosmic, you know, visions and archetypes and beautiful paintings, and she created this deck which feels like unlike any other deck I have. This particular deck feels like it's very potent, it's full of magic, it's powerful, and it's definitely, look at this devil card. It's like, oof, it just takes you to your gut, right? There's something that happens when you see that painting. So yeah, this deck is very powerful, it's very intuitive. So this is the Hangman. So for example, you'll see that the major arcana cards are represented by this specific symbol here, and they are numbered. So this is the Hangman, and then you'll have the actual elements representing each of the suits. So for air we have the cloud, so this is 4 of swords, for example, swords being linked to the air element. So there is that gymnastic here. If you're totally new to tarot and you're wanting to learn like the traditional meanings, don't use this deck obviously, but if you're wanting to go off your intuition, get inspired, and really tune into something quite cosmic and very beautiful and just so different, then I would totally recommend this deck. And actually, I have no issue now reading it. Once you know it's element based, it's very easy. You know, you still get the traditional meaning, which I really appreciate. You know, 4 of swords, you still see someone in a serene position. There's this idea of rest here still, of the road still going on, but you needing to take a break from it all. I find that beautiful. So this is the sun. We have the Wheel of Fortune, one of the most beautiful Wheel of Fortunes, right? Something different. I love that. The Chariot, gorgeous. Look at this High Priestess. She's so haunting. She's so powerful. I feel like you really... This High Priestess is very much the representation of this whole deck. It's just so powerful. So I love using this deck for more deep soul readings, you know, in terms of oh yeah, I forgot to say, you actually get 2 extra cards. So you get 2 Queen of Wands, because in the original Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands holds a snake, and some people are afraid of snakes, so she added another interpretation with like electric current. And you get an extra card as well, being the Golden Fool. So after the Fool has done the journey, you get another Major Arcana card, which is this one, which represents the Fool illuminated, which is beautiful. So for the court cards, you get the first letter, so Page, Warrior, Queen and King, and then you get the elements. So this is the Page of Fire, so Page of Wands, 10 of Wands, for example. And yeah, like I was saying, I use this particular deck for more deep soul readings, for connecting to my guides, for talking, having conversation. So this is one of the Queen of Wands, and then like I said, because some people don't like it, you get another one as well. This deck is just amazing, and I believe everyone could make their own meanings from it. Everyone could make their connections from it. Everyone is going to see something different in this particular artwork as well. This 5 of Cups is so beautiful, and I see the grief there, but I also see hope, and this is something I appreciate, because I want to know that there's light coming. I want to know that, you know, even though everything around me feels dark, there is still light there for me to see, still hope for me to have, you know. So this deck is very healing on a deep cellular level. It's very yeah, it's just very, very, very deep, and I believe you could do ancestral healing with this, you could do soul work with this, you could do maybe even past life readings with this. There's just a lot of depth there. It's unlike anything I have, and I'm so pleased. And this is one of my favorite cards of the deck. I'll end on that, which is the 3 of Wands, which is one of my favorite cards in the tarot, because I'm an Aries, so you know, we love to get that energy. And look at that burst of creativity, burst of color, entering this new kind of energy, this like creativity buzz, this new bridge into another universe almost. It's amazing. So this is the Shimmering Veil Tarot by Silla Conway. I highly recommend it. Okay, moving on to a little deck I have been loving. Now this particular deck is the Dali Tarot. This specific edition is an old edition that I got through crazy circumstances, which I go more into my hashtag tarot collector video that I'll link below if you want to check it out. This particular edition, like in this crappy tuck box, you can't get anymore, but I believe there is a Dali Tarot going around in a huge purple box. I don't know if it's still in print or not, but it was in print not that long ago, so have a look. It's the exact same artwork. I don't know if it's the same backs, but it's the exact same artwork, so maybe have a look. I love the size of this one, and as you can guess from the title, it is a tarot, you know, by Dali. Dali actually did the artwork, and I love that because it wasn't a tarot deck that was made by someone else using Dali artwork. It was literally the tarot deck made by Dali, and it's just super cool. So for all of my art lovers out there, this is totally a must have. It's not numbered or anything like that, but it's very easy to see what the cards are. As you'll see, you'll get the actual items depicted. So, you know, for pentacles we see pentacles, for cups we see cups, and then you either go off what you see or you actually count them out, and that's okay. You know, so it's not pippish because there are scenes in every image. We see Dali sign the artwork, and it's kind of a mix between painting and almost collage style. So this is the 3 of Swords, for example, but this deck is just so quirky, so unique, and I have nothing else that reads like this. So the court cards are major arcana cards are numbered. you do have the astro sign, you do have the Hebrew letter, and you have the name in English and in my version in French. I don't know about the other ones. And then because I have the French version, for the court cards you'll have the name here in French, but I believe in the English version or Spanish version you'd have it in your respective language. I love this deck so much. Like I said, the way I acquired it already was very special. I found it online. A lady was selling her late husband's tarot collection on the island that I'm on, which is very unusual for anyone on the island I live in to have tarot in the first place. It's just not, you know, it's a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. People don't do tarot, like it's just not a thing. So on top of that, this man had beautiful tarot decks, and you know, she just was lovely, this lady, and we had this really great chat, and she told me that this was her husband's favorite deck, and the minute I held it, I could feel that it was special, you know. And now having it in my collection, knowing that someone treasured it, knowing that someone did lots of readings with it, knowing that it brought so much joy to someone else, it makes it special to me, because I feel like I'm, you know, now I'm the guardian of this deck, and it doesn't stop me from using it. I get beautiful readings from it. I love using it, and it's like continuing that storyline, and that's why I love tarot, and that's why I also love used decks, because they just carry history, they carry energy, they have, you know, they end up having their own soul. Look at this hermit, it's gorgeous. So I've been flipping through the cards as I've been telling you this story, but yeah, you get the idea. The Dali Tarot is beautiful. Okay, moving on to my next choice. This is actually a mass market deck that I forgot, that I've had for a long time. I just forgot it in my last video. After filming, I realized I didn't include it, and I felt like it deserved its moment of fame, because I love this deck and it's gorgeous. It is the Tarot Mucha by Alphonse Mucha, or inspired by Alphonse Mucha, but it is by Los Scarabeo, and it comes in one of those tech box, and you get a guidebook in it. You know, Los Scarabeo style, lots of different languages. These are the backs of the card, and honestly this deck is absolutely stunning, and I can't believe I forgot it, so I wanted to showcase it today. So this is one of the very first deck I owned. I think it was in my like first 5 decks I bought, and there's just something about the very art deco artwork that I loved. As Los Scarabeo's decks, you'll see in their more recent ones, you get the number here and the actual minor arcana symbol here. So this is the 7 of Pentacles, for example, the 3 of Swords. So it's very easy reader. It does follow the RWS quite closely, very closely even, and it just has that beautiful art deco vibe. I just absolutely love this deck. I think this deck is a very easy reader. I think it's gorgeous. It's just like, if you're a beginner, you could definitely be reading from this deck if you don't resonate with the traditional RWS imagery, but you still want to learn off of that system. And I just really love this deck. It's gorgeous. I'm sure a lot of you know this particular one. It's very famous in the tarot community, but I just love the way that the artwork is done. I think, again, for me artwork is super important, so even the borders don't bother me. Sometimes I'm not a fan of the borders in certain decks, but because they're quite decorated, they don't bother me at all. And I think this deck shows a lot of emotions. Like, it's very good as well for the actual different court cards facing different ways, can help you read as well. And actually the wands court cards are some of my favorite. Look at this Queen of Wands. You don't want to mess with her. She's that bitch. I love her. She's one of my favorite. Look at that volcano exploding, and she's there like, oh yeah, I've made that happen. I don't care. I'm not even scared of the volcano, because, you know, I'm that bitch. I just love her. So, and I love you know, all the ladies with the beautiful headpieces. Makes me want to run in the field with flowers in my head. Yeah, this deck is gorgeous. I love this High Priestess. Totally would recommend it. It has a special place in my heart because it is one of the first decks I got, one of the decks I used and again to learn, so I will always treasure it. Okay, moving on we went from a mass market deck that was quite inexpensive to an indie deck that is potentially one of the most expensive deck I ever bought in my life, which I don't regret, by the way. It was totally worth it, and it is The Journey into Egypt by Julia Cuccia Watts, I believe. She is also the creator of the Ancestral Past Tarot. So this one is mass market. So if you fall in love with this particular artwork that I'm going to show you, but you can't afford it, then head over to your everywhere you buy the tarot decks and get the Ancestral Past Tarot, because it's a similar vibe, similar artwork, except this one depicts paintings from inspired by different culture. This one is only about Egypt. Now, I love mythology. I love, since I was a child, I would be obsessed reading about mythology, especially Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology. So honestly, when I saw this deck, it just called me. Like, I just, I didn't really overthink how much it was. I just knew it had to be in my collection because of the resonance I have with it personally. It just speaks to me. So these are the backs, which already I fell in love with. Potentially some of the most beautiful backs I have ever seen. So this deck, the reason why it comes in a very strange box is because you get it on Make Playing Cards. So this is the actual name of it. You can go on Julia's website and you can find this deck. You can find an actual big book as well, which I have ordered but I have not received yet, that goes with the deck. So separate, huge, proper chunky guidebook. I'm waiting for that. And then because on her website you get directed to Make Playing Cards, this is where this is why you get a plain box. So I say it's super expensive because it is still Make Playing Cards, and you don't get a guidebook or anything like that. But the cards are quite big, they're like the size of my hand. They are quite slim though, so they're easy to shuffle. The card stock is really good, and honestly I would be happy to pay that price because the artwork is insane and because of how it speaks to my soul. So you get extra cards that kind of explain to you how this deck is based on. Like, this deck has its own system. It reflects Egyptian astrology, so you have each of the suits depict different time of Egyptian history. You get a card about Julia, and then you get, so this is exactly it. So you can get the proper book, you can get a workbook, you can get a coloring book, you can get a journal. Like, there's so much information there. And this is her website, so I wanted to show you. It's newmoontradingco.com, because it took me ages to find this deck. I couldn't find where to get it, and actually it's all on her website, so have a look and it explains it all. Okay, now I've re-put this deck in order because I am waiting for the guidebook to come. I have worked with this deck already, but now I'm kind of like letting it sit until I get the guidebook and I can really get my teeth into it, because like I said, this particular tarot deck has its own system. So as you're gonna see on each of the cards, there is also an astrological event that reflects Egyptian astrology, which I don't know shit about. So that's gonna be interesting. But honestly, I just love the artwork so much that I was like, I don't care, I'll make it work. So I'll show you a couple of the cards. We have the Fool. The Magician is, look at this Magician. I find it beautiful. Potentially one of my favorite High Priestesses ever in any of my decks. We have Nut here, the goddess of the stars and the sky and the cosmos. And when I saw this image, I gasped. And the artwork is just so stunning. It's just like, this is why for me it's worth the money, because you're supporting an artist that literally painted 78 like pieces of art that is insane. The Empress with this Azor vibe is gorgeous. As I said, it's Egyptian based, so if Egypt is your thing, you're gonna love it. Look at the Lovers with Isis and Osiris. How insanely beautiful is this? I just love it so much. Also, she kind of looks like Beyonce, which I'm here for. Come on, Isis, Beyonce. So yeah, I think this deck is gorgeous. Again, if Egypt is your thing, you're gonna love it. If you don't care about Egypt, then skip a little bit till I'm showing you my next deck. But for me, it's one of my most, definitely in my top 5 most favorite beautiful decks. Most beautiful decks, yeah. I can't say favorite in terms of using it yet, because even though I have read with it and it reads beautiful, I really want to get the guidebook to really understand the astrological references. And even though I know who some of those gods represented or figures represented are, I can't say I know all of them, so I just want to learn more. And for me, this is going to be a very juicy study deck, and something that makes me so happy because I love this subject so much. I love learning about it, and it's gorgeous. So here we are now into the cups. I don't believe you have to get the book to make the most of this deck, but I just wanted to because so much effort was put into creating this, you know, all the added layers of information with the astrology and the Egyptian mythology and history and everything, that I felt like I wanted to explore, but I don't believe it's necessary. Look at this 9 of Wands. Oof. It's like, when I was a kid, I saw Indiana Jones all the time. I would watch it all the time with my dad, and I really wanted to be an archaeologist. And then I found out that you had to spend a lot of time in a lab, because it's not like in the movies where you can like go into treasure caves and you can, like, you know, explore things and find treasures and stuff. Even spending time in the library I would love, but then I saw this documentary when I was young, and these archaeologists, they would spend hours like dissecting dirt and then analyzing in a lab, and I was like, oh, like, this is not the Indiana Jones fantasy I was wanting to live. So I didn't, but I still have this very much strong pull, you know, around finding out about old cultures and stuff. It's still something I really love, so this deck speaks to that part of me. Okay, last deck I wanted to show today. If you have watched my hashtag Tarot Collector video, you will have seen it already, but I needed to include it because of course it is one of the most beautiful tarot decks in my collection. It is Le Tarot Masonique de Jean Beauchard. Now I will take you a bit closer. So this deck is part of the collection from this person that you know, the lady was selling her late husband's collection, and with the Tarot Dali and a couple of other decks I also got this one, and this is so special. It is older than me. It's like from the mid-80s, I believe. So it comes with a actual book, like little guidebook. It is a French deck, but so of course it's out of print because it's literally from the 80s. There is currently another deck by Jean Beauchard, which is still in print, called Le Tarot des Alchimistes, which I show in my other most beautiful decks. So if you love this deck and you fell in love with the artwork and the style, even though it's not the exact same, of course, because this one is around you know, the Masons kind of imagery, whereas the other one is around alchemy, I still really recommend you check out Le Tarot des Alchimistes because it's mass market. I believe still it would be easier to get, around potentially maybe 40-50 pounds, maybe even 30 pounds. The one that's mass market, whereas this one I saw online, it goes for ridiculous prices, like 200 or more. But you know, again, I was very lucky to get this deck. I got it at an incredible good price because I just found this lady who was selling her husband's collection, and yeah, it was again just very, I'm super grateful to have this. So these are the backs. Those cards are quite long. As you can see, they're much longer than a regular tarot deck, but they're quite slim, so it's definitely easy to shuffle. I have put it back in order so you can appreciate all the glory of it. But this deck is just so bright in color, and it is very esoteric. Very, very, very esoteric. It is full of symbols around astrology, alchemy, you know, the occult, Egyptian history. Like, there's just a lot of symbolism, there's a lot going on, the colors are incredible, and I just love this deck. So I'll show you a few of the actual majors. The minor arcanas are pipish, so that's something to know. If you don't like pip decks, this is not going to be the one for you, but just the major arcana is like something to be a feast for the eyes. And even though I know that, oh, you see it's like in both languages as well. As you see, there's like French language and English language right there. I know this deck is out of print and is super expensive and hard to get, and I don't want to create FOMO or anything, but I just wanted to show it at the end of this video because this artwork is so stunning, and it is by a French artist, and I wanted to really, you know, appreciate this artist, because I believe that a lot of people love Robert M. Place, and rightly so. I think his artwork is amazing. And for me, Jean Beauchard is kind of like, he was a bit like the French Robert M. Place, you know, even though they're very different. They did tarot decks on similar subjects like alchemy and all of that. Look at this hermit. So this deck is again another kind of study deck. You can totally read it as is, and I have, and you know, the readings are super powerful. But I mean, you don't if you want to go into like all the details, all the symbols, you could spend years and years studying this deck. And you know, I'm gonna take my time to really learn about it all more. There is a little guidebook, like I mentioned. There is another book by Jean Beauchard, a separate book around the Masons, that a lot of people use to study this deck, but because this deck is out of print, the book is also separately out of print, and even the book goes for ridiculous prices. And no, I you know, there's just, I can't afford it, so I'm doing my own little study as I can. The Devil card is super interesting. And the artwork, it just speaks to my soul. For me, it feels like magic, right? This is when you get a special deck in your hand and it's like pure magic. So we're coming on to the minor arcana now. As you can see, you see it's very pippish. So, you know, in terms of wands, you get the gist, and then you get the court cards, which are very interesting and colorful. The colors on this deck, and I don't know if you can see, but there is this like golden, it's not foiling because when you touch it there's nothing extra layer on it, but it's kind of feels like gold paint. That's beautiful. So the cups are actually really interesting. Look at those with those open hands, like, what are you ready to receive? Gorgeous. And then you have your swords, which again are not, even though they're pippish, they're not boring pips, right? I think they're beautiful pips. And then you have your pentacles, which I believe again are not boring pips at all. So this deck is just amazing. I love this Queen of Coins. She's just abundant in and loving her body, and I love that. So if you can't afford this deck, which I would totally understand because it goes at ridiculous prices and not everyone can find it at a really good price like I did, and you know, it's you know, you don't, if it's like, it goes for crazy prices. So if you love this artwork but you can't afford this particular deck, even though I'm sure you could find it on eBay, there is this one that, like I mentioned at the beginning, that is still in print, that is mass market in France, that I found on Amazon US not that long ago. It was still going, I mean, I bought mine in France, but you can find it on Amazon US. It is by the same author. It is Le Tarot des Alchimistes by Jean Beauchard. You get a proper big book with this one, and I have showed it already in my previous most beautiful decks video, so I won't show too much. You can head over to the other video to see more of it. But as you can see, I'll show you, the cards are similar size, and as you can see, I'll show you quickly a little bit of the artwork. Even though it's alchemy based, it is it's a similar vibe, very different subjects and very different depictions, but you know, it's similar vibe because it's the same artist. So I would recommend you checking out, and look at the fire suit. Amazing. Even though it's pippish, it's all dragons, like how cool. I wanted to end on a note with this one because I didn't want people to have FOMO, because I'm not here to create FOMO or anything. I'm literally just here to share my collection, share with people who love tarot. I don't want to, you know, be like, you need this deck or you need that deck. It's just trying to share with people who also enjoy it, and I'm trying to give you options of things that maybe could be a little bit more affordable. Okay, this is actually all the decks I wanted to show with you today. If you enjoyed this video, then please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, to let me know in the comments which one you enjoyed the most, or what your most beautiful deck is in your collection. I would love to know. I love talking to you guys, and actually everyone liking and all of that, subscribing, all of that good stuff, it really helps my channel to grow. I'm still very new to the YouTube world, like I'm like a YouTube baby. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm really enjoying it, so I hope that you'll enjoy it too. And until my next video, I'm sending you lots and lots of good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!